guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we have another wrap up. We are talking about all of the books that I read in October. I read a total of 12 books and I had 2 DNFs this month. So let's go through the DNFs first and then we will break down the 12 books that I read in October. The first book that I DNF'd, I feel like some people are going to be not upset, but like kind of at me DNFing this one, and that is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I know this book, a lot of people love this book, and I was really wanting to read it before the movie came out because I wanted to go see the movie. But one of my biggest triggers in books is talk about infertility or that adjacent concept. Because I have PCOS, I've been told that it'll be hard for me to have kids. So those kinds of things are hard for me to read about in books. And I did not know going into this book that that is a major plot point in the book. So if you are someone who also gets triggered by that in books, maybe don't pick this one up because it is a major plot point and you can't really avoid it. So that is why I DNF'd it, and now I'm not even sure if I want to go see the movie. And then the other book that I DNF'd was I Told You So by Macy from The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I was so excited for this book because Macy is one of my favorite girls from The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So I was so excited to read her book and her memoir, but it was also triggering for me because she was talking about her ex-boyfriend who was like mentally abusive to her. And a lot of the things that she was describing was reminding me of my ex-boyfriend and how like he pushed boundaries until there were no boundaries and just a bunch of stuff. And so I had to take a step back because it was reminding me of my ex and I did not want to be reminded of that. So I DNF'd it. Let's move on to the 12 books that I read. I'll break it down by category for the most part. I say this every month, but a lot of these books can be put into multiple categories because a lot of them are multiple genres. Like I said, this is just how I broke it down, how it made sense in my mind and my brain, but like some of them I know definitely could have gone in a couple different categories. But out of the 12 books that I read, 4 of them were fantasy, 3 of them were romance, 2 of them were just general fiction, 2 were mystery thrillers, and then 1 was a graphic novel. The first book that I read in October was The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This is a cozy fantasy, and let me tell you, it is definitely very cozy. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It follows Keela, and she worked in a library full of spell books, and the library catches fire. Well, doesn't catch fire. Someone starts a fire in the library purposefully, and she escapes the library with a stack or 2 of the spell books that are illegal to own, and she escapes with a talking spider plant. The spider plant was one of my favorite characters in the book. He was so cute and I want a talking spider plant. She goes back to her hometown where she was born and where her parents are from, and goes back to her family cottage and makes a tea shop with a little side business of remedies, aka spells from these spell books that help with the plants and stuff on this little island. And a like royal investigator gets shipwrecked near this island, and she's like, there's magic going on here, and like I said, spell books and magic are illegal, so they have to figure out what to do. Very cute, very cozy. The next book that I read on my Kindle, and I read Blue Arrow Island. I don't remember who the author is by off the top of my head, but this is a book. I would consider it a mystery, but it also has like a fantasy element to it, so it's in a world where there was virus that killed off like half the population, and because of that, it has become illegal to prevent pregnancy And our female main character gets caught taking a tonic that will prevent her from getting pregnant, and she gets arrested for it, and she gets sent to Blue Arrow Island, where a bunch of criminals are sent to, and you basically have to survive on this island. And there's 2 different like clans of criminals on this island, and she gets thrown into one of them. Weird things are starting to happen to her. She is getting these urges. Some are aggression towards other people, and then some is like lust and wanting to procreate, I guess. And then there's this other clan that she's been told are vicious, terrible people. They will kill anyone on sight, basically. She starts questioning things about the group that she is a part of, and she escapes and goes off to this other clan who is not what they seem or what she thought they were and what she was told. And she's figuring out things about the island and why they're all put there, and it is a very interesting book. It gives kind of like Lost / Hunger Games-esque vibes. So good. I highly recommend. I gave it 4.5 stars. And then I read a little short story novella style book called With Any Luck by Ashley Poston, and I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't anything to write home about. It also takes place during Valentine's Day. I am definitely a person that is an atmospheric reader, and so I like to read books set on Valentine's Day, around Valentine's Day. I like to read books, Christmassy books in December, fall books in the fall, summer books in the summer. So I probably didn't enjoy it as much as I could have if I read it around Valentine's Day. There's another one in here from that same little short story group on Amazon, so I'll talk about that again a little bit later, but it was still cute and I enjoyed it. Ashley Poston, I love her writing, but it was literally like a 40-page book, so there wasn't much that could happen in that time frame. It was cute. I don't remember much about it. And then I read a book that I had been putting off for a very long time because it is a book that intimidated me, and that is When the Moon Hatched. This is why it intimidated me, because it was this big, and the beginning has like 20 pages of glossary / pronunciation guide, and it just intimidated me. But I did listen to it, and I think that helped a lot because I didn't have to worry about the pronunciations of anything, and I really enjoyed it. It was not confusing at all to me, which I was expecting it to be a little confusing, but it wasn't confusing at all. I really enjoyed the setting and the characters, and I gave it 4.5 stars. I could see the next one being 5 stars possibly. It follows a character named Rafe, who is an assassin, and she does what assassins do, but she also goes off on her own and kills not just the people that she is told to kill, but criminals, bad people. And she decides to kill this one specific person or this group of people, and she gets caught by the Guild of Nobles, and they are basically going to execute her because they have linked her to all of these other assassinations that she's done. But when she is about to be fed to the dragons, basically, she gets rescued by this dark, mysterious man. Turns out this dark, mysterious man is called Convager, I believe is how you pronounce it. And he's like one of the rulers of one of the adjacent areas. And Rave is very familiar to him in a way that is very intriguing. And so he saves her, and they go on a quest from there, but I'm not gonna say anything else because I don't want to give anything away. Definitely would recommend if you've been putting it off. It wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be, so definitely pick it up sooner rather than later. Another 4.5 star that I had this month was Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. This is my last book I think I needed to read by her, and I really enjoyed it. Obviously I gave it 4.5 stars. I love her writing. I love that she has that little magical realism element to all of her books, and this one follows 2 different people, our female main character is a songwriter, and then our male main character is like a ex-pop star group from a boy band, kind of like Harry Styles vibes. And they have one interaction, and then after that interaction they can start hearing each other in their head. And at first they're like, am I going crazy? Who is this in my head? And then they put two and two together and they decide to write a song together because they're hearing this specific melody in their head. It's a great little rom-com. It's not my favorite book by her, and it's not going to be a book that like sticks with me for forever, but I did really enjoy it while I was reading it. The next book I read was Broken Country. I have been seeing this one all over recently, so I wanted to give it a go, and my hold finally became available for the audiobook of it. And I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't my favorite read, but it was still really interesting. It follows a girl who is like a farmer. Starts with her like husband or brother-in-law or someone, I don't remember who, but someone shoots a dog. That dog happened to be her first love ex-boyfriend's family dog. She becomes like a nanny, housekeeper for his son because he is a newly single dad, and she is starting to question her feelings because that's her first love, and then she's married to this guy, but she has lost a child with this guy, and it's just like stories intersect. And then it turns out that her husband is on trial because someone was murdered. It goes back and forth between those two different timelines. Her figuring out what she wants with the people around her, and then this trial because her husband is on trial for killing someone. So it was very interesting. It wasn't my favorite. I gave it 4 stars, but I enjoyed it a lot while I was reading it, but it definitely wasn't like my favorite read of the year. The next book that I read was Good Girl, Bad Blood. This is the second book in the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. I am pleasantly surprised with how much I've been really enjoying this series for it being YA, but I am really enjoying it. I think it's really fun and quirky. The first one follows Pip. She is doing a senior project where she is convinced that this person was wrongly convicted of murdering his girlfriend. This one, however, it follows her. She has a podcast now where she talked about that whole situation, and then on this podcast she's now doing a season 2 where one of her friend's brothers goes missing, and so she is now trying to play a detective and figure out what happened to his brother. The next book that I read was A Study in Drowning. This one is really pretty, sprayed edged edition. I didn't like this one as much as I thought I was going to or hoped that I would. I gave it 3 stars, so it was just like very middle of the line. I will be continuing it and reading the second one and seeing how I feel from there. If I continue the series, if they make more of them, or if she makes more of them. But I really like the atmosphere of it. It follows a girl who's the only girl in the architect program, and she gets invited to the house of her idol writer because she would like to be in the literature program, but they do not allow females into that section of the school. So she gets invited to this house to draw up plans, like floor plans. So she goes because it's her idol. But while she's there, she meets another person who is contemplating if this person, this writer, was really who he said he was. And so they kind of team up to discover who he really was. It was good. It was cute. Not my favorite. I'm going to give the second one a chance though. And then I read Drop, Cover, and Hold On. This is the other one in that little like novella short story group on Amazon that was set around Valentine's Day. This one was by Jasmine Guillory, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. I enjoyed it. 3 stars again. You know, probably would have liked it more if I read it around Valentine's Day, but it was cute. The next book that I read was Wild Dark Shore. I have had this one on my radar for a very long time, and I'm so happy that I finally got around to it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I enjoyed it, but I did not really enjoy the ending. I was on the edge of my seat for the last like 15 pages or so, but the very end, just like, I did not enjoy what happened to our female main character, and just like little aspects about it I did not really fully enjoy. It follows a family, a single dad and his 3 kids who live on this island that's sinking. There used to be a research team on it because they had like a seed bank where they kept a bunch of seeds of extinct and non-extinct seeds for like re-civilization, if that ever needs to happen. One day a woman just washes up on shore and she's alive, and they don't know how she is there or what she's doing there. It's just like this big mystery. Things are unraveling the whole time. And I was shocked by some of the things that happened. I was not expecting certain people to be certain things, and it kept me on the edge of my seat, but just the very end disappointed me. So that's why it's not higher than 4 stars. And then I read a graphic novel called Garlic and the Vampire. This was so cute and the perfect graphic novel to read in October. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was just adorable and I loved it. It follows this little like garlic. He works for this witch who has a garden. There's a garlic and a carrot and just like a bunch of different produce that are taking care and gardening their adjacent things. So like the garlic takes care of the garlic in the plant. But there's this house up on a hill that has been abandoned and they see smoke coming from the chimney, and so they're like, who's there? And the witch has this mirror that sees into that house, and it turns out that it is a vampire. And so they send Garlic to go investigate to see why the vampire is there, because garlic vampires, you know, don't go well together. And it was just so cute. Highly recommend reading it. If you're new to graphic novels, this would be a good one to start with. One of my best friends, it was her first graphic novel she's ever read, and now she wants to read more graphic novels. So, highly recommend Garlic and the Vampire. And then the last book that I read in October was Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. I enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite. I am glad I read it during October because I felt like it was good for the spooky season. I ended up giving it 3 stars, so it was very middle of the line for me. I didn't love it, but I found myself laughing at something. There's a couple of different people it follows. One of the people it follows is a girl. She's a real estate agent, but she also so happens to be a new vampire. And so she's trying to navigate being a vampire, and the house that she is trying to sell is haunted by a ghost. So she then goes and tries to find help from the godson of death to try to figure out why this ghost isn't being able to move on. When the godson of death comes to the house to try to figure out, they've discovered that Death has been kidnapped and has been forced into this bartering game. So these 2 archangels come and say to the godson of death that he is the only person that can come and try to put an end to it. It was really interesting because a lot of the times books have, like, for example, the Cassandra Clare books, there are like archangels, or like the Percy Jackson books are just the Greek gods and there's no one else, like no other entities. But this book had all of them. There was God and the devil, but then there were also angels and archangels, and there were the Greek gods, and just like all of them, which was interesting. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. Just very middle of the line. I probably won't think about it again, to be honest, but those are all 12 of the books that I read in October. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing me chit chat about all of the books that I read. Let me know if you've read any of these and your thoughts on them, or if any of them are on your TBRs, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!